Hello, everybody. Welcome to Zero Limits Living. I'm Dr. Joe Vitale. Every week, I bring you inspiration and information to make a profound difference in your life. This week, we're going to make a deep dive within. We're going to be talking about prosperity meditations and a whole lot more. My guest is somebody I've known since the last century. I've always wanted to say that phrase, since the last century. It sounds like I'm hundreds of years old. But my guest is a longtime friend, colleague, and inspiration to me, inspiration to millions of people around the planet. Let me read a little of the bio here off of the new book. Susan Shumsky has dedicated her life to helping people take command of their lives in highly effective, powerful, and positive ways. For 2 decades, her mentor was Maharishi Mahesh Yogi, guru of the Beatles. She is an award-winning author of 20 books, including Instant Healing, Earth Energy Meditations, and Third Eye Meditations. And I have all of her books. They are all fantastic. She is a pioneer in the human potential field and a new thought minister. She has taught meditation, prayer, affirmation, and intuition worldwide for 50 years. We are so fortunate to have her here today talking about her journey, spirituality, maybe a little about the Beatles, and prosperity meditations. Susan, welcome.
Oh, I'm so excited to be here with you today, Joe. Thanks for inviting me.
Of course. You and I go way back. I haven't seen you in a few years. You were one of my speakers at my Miracles Weekend in San Diego, I think it was, a long time ago. And then I think you came to Texas and we had lunch at one point, and then we just kind of went in our ways. But I'm still out there writing, inspired by you, and you obviously are still out there writing. Congratulations on your new book.
Inspired by you.
Yeah, give me a break.
Oh, you are. You're an inspiration to millions.
Well, thank you. See, you got me all stumbled on my words now because you started with a compliment like that. So, you know, Susan, we need this. I'm going to tell you, you probably know, I was homeless in the 1970s in Dallas. I was in poverty for a good 10 years when I was in Houston. And I was trying everything and I was doing everything that I thought was right. And I was praying and I was meditating to the best of my ability. And I was trying to attract prosperity. But by God, it really seemed to not want to come to my place. It didn't like me for the longest time. So there are people in the same boat that are looking for this.
Yeah, when you said that, I was thinking money goes where it's welcomed and it stays where it's well treated. So somehow, subconsciously, you were pushing money away at that time. Is that
yes.
Time of your
I don't
life?
push it, Susan, I don't push it away anymore.
Right. I'm aware of that. Yeah. That's good.
But you okay, we're going to jump right in here because you just said a couple of things that are really valuable. And I want everybody to hear this because you are absolutely correct. I did not have a good attitude towards money. Most people don't. You say that money is good, and I want you to address that in a second. But I know that I and so many other people either thought consciously or unconsciously that money was bluntly evil, or it was simply bad, or it would simply corrupt me. And with that kind of an attitude, who would want money in your life? I mean, you'd walk around going, I need it and I want it and bring it to me. But unconsciously, you're going, don't come here. You're bad. You're evil. You're going to hurt. So why is money good? How do we get past that for those people who are watching and they are struggling?
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, we've all been brainwashed to believe that it's easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than for a rich person to get to the kingdom of heaven. We've been taught that money is the root of all evil. Mm-hmm. And so because we've been brainwashed this way, we believe that spiritual people can't be rich, spiritual people cannot have wealth, and that poor people are more spiritual. And the poor people are superior. So we have this like superior attitude, thinking that if we are poor, if we are struggling, then we must be better than all those rich people who actually unconsciously we're jealous of. So we need to own up to the fact that we're pushing money away, that we have this negative attitude, and that really it is our subconscious mind that is creating the circumstances, situations that we're in right now. So for example, Buddha tells us that all that we are is the result of what we have thought. All that we are is the result of what we have thought. And that is in the very first verse of the first chapter of the Dhammapada, which is arguably Buddha's most important scripture of Buddhism. And he goes on in the next verse to say, if a person speaks or acts with a pure thought, then happiness follows him or her. If a person speaks or acts with an impure thought, then unhappiness follows him or her.
But, you know, if you had gone back in time and you met me when I was either on the streets or in poverty, and you said that I would be thinking this and I'm creating my reality by my thinking, I would argue with you. And I would say, I'm not thinking poverty. I'm not thinking homelessness. And the thinking that you're referring to is below the conscious level. It's operating on that software of the mind in the subconscious, unconscious. If there are people watching right now going through a similar struggle and a similar denial, how do we awaken to that reality? It's nice that Buddha said, hey, that you're thinking what you're creating here. Thank you, Buddha. How do I change that? How does anybody change it? I mean, is this when we go into the prosperity meditations and start repeating them? Or is there some other inner work that we need to do?
Yeah, I mean, the inner work is what we need to do, because as you said, it is our subconscious mind that rules the roost. It is our subconscious mind that's creating whatever circumstances, whatever situations we're in. We obviously didn't consciously decide, oh, I'm going to be homeless and I'm going to be poor. It's not anything that anyone would consciously want to put on their to-do list. So,
Right.
So what we want to do is we want to change that subconscious mind. And the ways that I've found that are most effective for changing the subconscious mind are meditation, prayer, affirmation, and mantra. And all of those four things are taught in this book of Prosperity Meditations. So we learn how to meditate, how to say various positive statements that are going to give us instant results, and also using prayers and mantras. So the methods that are in the book Prosperity Meditation, we got to start somewhere.
Right.
And this is really a great way to start, is to start with using the methods that are in this book. This is a fantastic book. I mean, I really don't say that often about many of my books, but this book is fantastic. It might be my best book ever.
I totally agree. In fact, what's really charming is I got to write the foreword. I reread my foreword and said, oh, I'm so lucky that I got to write it. And of course, got to tell the story of how I met you and so forth. I love the book. I think the book is fantastic. I wish I had the book in the 1970s, but here we are today. And I'm doing my best to help the people that are watching. They're going through the pandemic. They're struggling. Many have lost their jobs, quit their jobs, resigned from their jobs, looking for new jobs, trying to be an entrepreneur. They want to live what the show's called Zero Limits Living. They want to move in that direction, but they might feel stuck. Where do we start? Even, we get your book, but where do we start within it?
Okay, so the book has some guided meditations. People who say they can't meditate, guided meditations is the way to do it, because I call it the do nothing program, meaning do nothing, nothing, and less than nothing. And when you do nothing, the less you do, the better results you have. So what I recommend is that there are these guided meditations in the book, and that the best way to use those, I believe, is to record them in your own voice on a device and then sit comfortably. The most important thing about meditation is to sit comfortably, is to be comfortable in your chair. and then start the playback and close your eyes and just allow your own voice to guide you into meditation. And I think it's a very effective way to go into the meditative state. All of the meditations in the book, Prosperity Meditations, are to help you to change your attitude, to change that subconscious belief that you have that money is bad and that rich people are bad and the spiritual people are good and should be poor. So we want to change that attitude. We have to change that intention, that attitude, in order to attract wealth into our lives. And abundance, I don't say wealth necessarily. The book is it's Prosperity Meditations, everyday practices to create an abundant life, not just money, but abundance on every level: physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, and every area of life: love, relationships, money, career, world, the environment, everything around us and within us. We can change our attitude. And affirmation is probably the most powerful way for us to change our attitude.
Can you give us an affirmation right now, just so we can be rolling around and participating a little bit?
Okay, I'm going to give you a short one, and then I'm going to say another one that's real powerful. So the short one is this: I am in control. I am one with God. I am the only authority in my life. I am divinely protected by the light of my being. I close off my aura and body of light to the lower astral levels of mind, and I open to the spiritual world. Thank you, God, and so it is.
I felt that. I felt that. You said that with such authority that you were connected to the divine even as you spoke those words. And I want to tell you something really quick as a side note. Obviously, I love books. Look what's behind me. But I found a book from 1922 the other day, and it was called The Inner Secret. And it was by X, which is rare for an X to write a book. But 1922, X wrote a book called The Inner Secret. I read the whole book. It was absolutely fascinating. And what did he say was the inner secret? 2 words: I am. Because when you say I am, then what follows it is what you are affirming and programming into your life. Too many people say, of course, I am broke, or I am in need of money, which is the negation. So I love the affirmation you just gave us. Thank you for that. And that's in the book. Right. Your book is fascinating. It's so readable. I love that you have mantras. I love that you explain meditation. I love that you have the guided visualization. I love that you even address the idea of visualization, because throughout my career, occasionally I'll run into somebody who says, I can't visualize. And you address that in here, because it doesn't have to be a big deal. It doesn't have to be something where somebody sees a car or a TV set or a home or money or whatever in their mind. They can still feel it, they can still speak it, and they can still bring it into being. So I'm a fan. Love your book.
So I'm so glad you brought up this I am. So whenever you speak an affirmation, what you're doing, if you use the words I am, you are invoking the mighty I am presence, which is the divine presence within you. So whenever you say the words I am, it's very important that whatever you say after you say those words is something that you want to own, something you want to attract into your life, because you are attracting it into your life by saying it. So when you go around saying, oh, I'm so unhappy, I'm so tired, I'm so sick, I'm so poor, just feel the negative vibration that invokes, and then when you go around saying, I am light, I am love, I am power, I am joy, I am fulfilled, I am filled with money, I'm filled with wealth, I'm filled with power. Those are the kinds of affirmations you want to say. So it's very, very important what comes out of your mouth. Jesus once said that we are not defiled by what we put into our mouth. We are defiled by what comes out of our mouth. Wow. So it's very, very important that we be very careful about what comes out of our mouths. It's not that easy to control the random thoughts that are going through your mind all day, but it is very easy to control what's coming out of your mouth and what you're doing. So when Buddha said we're creating our reality through thoughts, through words, and through deeds, thoughts, yeah, we are definitely creating through our subconscious thoughts. But words and deeds, we have a lot of control over that. So we can say, just framing what we say in a positive way, even if we're complaining, we can say, oh, I felt so bad, but now I'm getting better and better every day. I mean, we can always reframe even the way that we talk to other people complaining about things. We can change it up into a more positive statement. All right, so here's another one. I'll just say this one.
I'm loving this, and I'm loving the reminders, because you are suggesting that we be more self-aware rather than just blurting out whatever our complaint is or the negativity is. We pause long enough to kind of keep our mouth shut and not speak it into existence. And that's a delay. You're asking for a meditative delay before we actually speak something that could be created that we don't actually want.
Exactly. And I notice that if I'm having negative thoughts, I will stop myself and first of all, I'll forgive myself. I'll say it audibly. Whenever I speak, whenever I want to change something, whenever I want to speak something into existence, say it audibly, not just thinking, not just reading, speak it audibly with confidence, with conviction. So what I do is I just say, I forgive, Susan, I forgive you for saying that, for thinking that, and then say, and now I am filled with light, or whatever I want to change that negative attitude into. So that's what I do. So
that's
here
beautiful.
it is. Here's a great one. It's called Prosperous Self-Determination. I am in charge of my destiny. I am the captain of my ship. I steer it to my highest good. I have the power to change course at any moment. No one creates my fate other than myself. No bad or good omen determines my fortune. I am 100% responsible for my destiny. I give no power to anything or anyone outside of me to create any negative experience for me. I am not a victim. I am a volunteer. Nothing ever happens to me. I only happen to myself. No person, place, or circumstance can possess me, hold me in chains or bondage, or prevent my good from coming to me. I belong to God and to myself alone. Through the power of free will, I now consciously make my own choices. I now consciously seize my own opportunities. I now consciously write my own script. I now consciously manifest my own good. I now make my own destiny, my own fate, my own future, and my own life. There is nothing beyond my grasp. If anyone can have it, I can. If anyone can do it, I can. If anyone can be it, I can. Through my faith in God, all is possible. Thank you, God, and so it is.
Yes.
It's like your own cheering squad.
Right.
You're creating your own cheerleading squad by saying these affirmations with a confident, strong, and powerful voice, and you get instant results. I mean, I instantly feel incredible energy flowing through me now, light flooding around me simply by saying these simple words. It works.
I love it. I love it. I love it. There's so many things I want to ask you, and I'm always aware of my condensed amount of time when I do these shows. So let me kind of jump in, and I'm doing it by the seat of my pants. I'm letting my heart drive, and just please go with the flow here. How did you learn about this? You have a long history of spirituality. You were with the Maharishi for 6 years in his inner circle. How did you find out about prosperity meditations, for example? Where did this begin for you?
Well, Indian gurus believe that thoughts create our destiny. Just any quote from any Indian guru will say, you're creating your reality, you're creating your destiny through your thoughts, including Maharishi used to always say that, His cure-all was meditation. The kind of meditation that he taught was using a mantra. And that was great. And I had fantastic experiences with that. I had nothing but wonderful experiences with transcendental meditation when I practiced it. For a couple of decades, I practiced that method. However, it's a very passive kind of meditation. You go into the deep meditative state and you experience unbounded awareness. You're experiencing these wonderful spiritual experiences. And then you come out of meditation, okay? What I found was that there was something missing. There were a couple of things missing. And one of the things that was missing actually was divine love was missing from that practice. But really what I want to address right now is what was missing is the participation of the individual in the meditative practice. Okay, so what I recommend is that when people are in the deep meditative state, rather than just being passive and having a lovely experience, that's part of the meditative state, what I suggest is that you begin to have a dialogue with your higher self or with a divine being that you call upon. And in this way, you start to develop your intuition. Why intuition? What are you saying, Susan? Well, because you can begin to ask questions of your higher self and receive guidance, receive answers to those questions. And that in that way, you're opening up to intuition. You're starting to listen to the still small voice within. And I think it's very, very important that people learn. I think it's the most vital skill for anyone to learn is to be able to listen to the still small voice and receive divine guidance from spirit before you make up your mind to do anything. Ask for guidance, ask spirit what is highest wisdom. You can also ask for healing, for inspiration, for creative ideas about a project you're working on. You can ask about many different things when you're in that deep meditative state. And my go-to phrase is ask and it shall be given unto you. Everything I teach is based upon that one principle, ask and it shall be given unto you. So when you're in that deep meditative state, ask a question, ask for guidance, ask for something, and then take a big, deep breath and then allow, just have a neutral attitude and allow, and the answer will come to you in one of three ways. You'll either see a vision, you'll hear a voice, meaning you'll hear some words being fed into your inner ear, into your mind, or you'll get a gut feeling. So those are the three basic ways that we receive guidance from spirit with a capital S. And so I recommend that people learn how to do that. And that's a very, very powerful, powerful way to meditate, is to have this dialogue, to start this conversations with God. Kind of thing.
I love it. When people are beginning to do this, how do they discern the difference between spirit with a capital S and the small s, that is the disguised ego, that could be the self-talk that's deceiving? How do they separate their mind from the divine mind? How do they discern the difference?
Right. Well, yeah, I've written some books on that. I teach a whole 10 test system for that. I can't teach that in 5 minutes, but it is for example, in this book, Awaken Your Divine Intuition. You can learn the 10 tests of spiritual discernment in here. And this is written like a workshop, this book. So it teaches you how to listen to that inner voice and how to distinguish and discern between that true voice of spirit and other voices in your mind, how to test whether the message is the real thing. So you want the real thing. You want to be able to know when it's truly your higher self speaking to you and not some other voice. And that's very, very important, because you could be receiving your messages from 4 different places: the spiritual world, the mental world, the astral world, or the environmental world. And you only want to receive the messages from the spiritual world.
Is there a tip or a shortcut? We'll go get your book, but I mean, right now, can you give us a tip? Somebody's wanting to talk to their divine self, their higher self, and they want at least a clue of a sense of how to be sure they're moving in the right direction and listening to the godlike voice.
Right. Well, one tip would be, what is it saying? Is it saying something positive, something uplifting? Is it saying something that's going to be practical and helpful? Or is it just giving you some strange mumbo jumbo about something out in the stratosphere? I don't know, some weird voice or some weird message that makes no sense. That would be just one very small tip.
No, that's very helpful. And that's what I want to do, is be as helpful to these people as I can. Definitely. Also, I don't want to run by the belief about money is the root of all evil. And the reason I want to hammer at it one more time and invite you to give another pass at reducing it or eliminating the belief in us is that I've been on stages all over the world. And to my surprise, virtually every single country has it. When I was in Russia, Ukraine, Iran, Poland, it doesn't matter. Culturally, they've absorbed a belief that says money is the root of all evil. How can we dismiss it besides just saying it's not serving us, you can't get any money without getting rid of that belief? Is there another way to dismantle it? I'm just trying to weaken the hold of that belief on everybody, including myself, if I still have it.
Yeah, I mean, we need to change our attitude. So one way to change our attitude is to realize that if spiritual people who have the good of humanity in heart and have the benefit of the planet at heart and want to do good, want to be as effective as possible in doing good in this world, and I assume everyone who's watching this today is in that category, or you wouldn't be part of Joe's audience at all. You just wouldn't be there. So because you are a humanitarian, I suggest that if you have more power and more resources at your command, you will be more effective in the world to create all the good that you want to create. So how can you be more effective? Well, if you have more money, if you have more resources, if that will give you more power to do more good. So I think that looking at it that way will help us to understand that money is good. And that money is unlimited, by the way. People think, oh, well, I want my fair share. Fair share, what does that mean? That means money is that abundance or money is limited, but in fact, it is unlimited. It's like you say zero limits. There are zero limits to abundance because this universe is created out of divine substance, and divine substance is free for all. Divine substance is unlimited, unbounded. There is no end to abundance, to prosperity. And you're not taking away from someone else by being wealthy. You're not. All you're doing is allowing yourself to be more effective and to do more good and to help more people. So I think that's a way that could be very helpful for us to look at money.
I totally agree with that. I had written a book called The Awakened Millionaire. And in it, I said, if you have a cause that you believe in, or you have people you care about, or there's pockets of the world that need help, the more at peace with money you are, the more money you can acquire. And then you are a steward for that money, and you can direct it. You can aim it to those things, those people, those places, those pockets that you care about. So money ends up being this, to me, very neutral but powerful tool that we use. In and of itself, it's not evil. It's not anything. It's just an energy vortex that we all agree is kind of useful for establishing dreams. Also, you mentioned that the title of the show is called Zero Limits Living, and you have something called an unlimited thinking exercise. And I'm in love with this concept. I'm wrestling with the idea of, is anything really impossible? Is there anything really limited? I'm starting to question and wonder, maybe everything's just a mental construct. Maybe when we question it and probe it, it actually dissolves, that there's no real limits. That's why Zero Limits Living. But what is your unlimited thinking exercise?
Well, we could do it right now, I guess.
Let's do it. Let's do it. All right.
Unlimited thinking exercise. Get out a pen.
Okay.
And a piece of paper.
Okay.
And then what we would do with this pen and piece of paper is we would write a detailed list of what you would do with your time every day, day by day. If you were under a very interesting circumstance in which you had unlimited time, unlimited health and energy, unlimited optimism and happiness, unlimited self-confidence and self-empowerment, if you had unlimited fulfillment, unlimited intelligence, unlimited spiritual awareness, unlimited likability, unlimited love, unlimited compassion and kindness, if you had unlimited resources, unlimited money, unlimited power and influence and success, if you had unlimited, well-paid, happy, and devoted helpers, and if it were impossible for you to fail, what would you do with your time day by day?
Wow.
Not what things you would buy, not trinkets, not what, how many cars and airplanes and mansions you would buy. No, what would you do when you got up every morning?
Yeah.
So what I suggest is that all of you who are watching this, that you take a moment to write this list, just pause the video and take a moment to write this list and just let your imagination run wild. Just whatever comes to you this is what I would do every day. So you just make that list, make a detailed list. And then I'll tell you why you wrote that list when you come back to the video.
All right.
Okay. So now that now go write your list and then come back.
Okay. And right after they write their list, go buy Prosperity Meditations, which is on Amazon and probably in all bookstores. It's a little book, fits in your purse, your pocket. You can take it everywhere. You could use it every day. I said somewhere in the foreword, make it your daily devotional reading. Read it, use it, explore it, and then expect miracles. It's that good.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I love what you wrote. Thank you so much, Joe.
It was an honor to write it, to be invited. All right. So everybody's done their exercise. They've all come back. And I got my answer. I know what I'm going to do if all those things were fit and taken care of. You know what I would do, Susan?
What would you do, Joe?
I'd write a book.
Exactly. You would do exactly what you're doing right now, right?
I'm doing what I love. What else am I got to do? People say, when you retire, what are you going to do? I'm thinking about writing a book. So what do we do after doing that wonderful unlimited thinking exercise? And we've answered it. Now we've come back.
Right. So this thing that you wrote, this list that you wrote, is probably the most important document you've ever written in your life.
Wow.
So I suggest that you keep it, because this is actually a blueprint for a life of all possibilities. It's not just a fantasy. It's something that you actually can create, because, as Joe says, there are zero limits in your life, and you can create this. Now, you might have to take a few baby steps, first of all, because some of the things on your list, you might think, oh, that's impossible, But what I suggest is that you take one of those things that's on your list that seems somehow, maybe there might be some feasibility, and just take some baby steps in the direction of fulfilling that. And what you might find is that you will get support from almighty nature, that coincidences might start to happen in your life. They're not really coincidental. Little serendipitous happenings will start to take place. And you'll find that people will come along at the right time, and they'll just show up, and somehow you'll start to get some support for doing that thing that you thought was impossible. And then pretty soon you'll be living a very miraculous life if you continue in this direction. Because what you have uncovered by writing this list is you have uncovered your true heartfelt desires and your true mission in life. That's it. Your true mission is uncovered when you have unlimited thinking, when you realize that there are no limitations, when you realize that you can create this dream that you've always had, that you didn't even, maybe you didn't even realize you had this dream, but there it is, written in black and white, and that you can create that. You can manifest that.
Beautiful. That's worth its weight in gold right there. That's an awakening. That's an awakening. Did you saw the movie The Secret, correct?
I did.
Law of Attraction movie from 2006.
And I read the book, yeah. Uh-huh.
And yes, were you a fan? Because there were some people who were fans and some who criticized.
Well, I was happy because I had been studying New Thought, all the concepts that are in this film. Yeah. I've been studying. After I left the ashram, where I was with Maharishi, this is my memoir, Maharishi and Me Seeking Enlightenment.
Yeah, that's an outstanding book. I loved it.
Guru. Thank you. So after I left the ashram, I started studying these principles, these New Thought principles, which are taught in the churches, religious science churches, which are now called Centers for Spiritual Living, Unity Church, and these very divine science. There are organizations that were teaching these principles. So I was studying them and I was teaching them and I was writing about them and all of that. So I was thrilled that that movie came out where, wow, there it is. It's all laid out in this movie. It's wonderful. The thing that was missing from the movie, I believe.
That's what I want to hear. That's what I want to hear. Was
one thing. And that is just making a laundry list of all the things that you want to create in your life. Well, that's fine and good, but maybe you will manifest all those things. And then once you've had those things, you realize, well, I didn't want that in the first place.
Yeah.
So that's the problem. That's why it's so important. And that's why I emphasize, and the really core thing that I teach is to help people to listen to their inner divine guidance, to listen to the still small voice within, and to discover what is highest wisdom for us to be manifesting in the first place. And doing that unlimited thinking exercise, by the way, is one way to really come up with that, is to find out, well, these are the things that are highest wisdom for me to manifest, because this is my heartfelt belief and heartfelt desire. This is the core values that I have. But too many people, they think that there are certain things that are on the tops of their list that aren't really their core values, that aren't really the things that they want. If you learn how to listen to the still small voice and start that dialogue with spirit, start to ask questions of spirit, start to ask for guidance and say, is it highest wisdom for me to get the Mercedes-Benz or the Ford? I know it seems so mundane, but when I talk to spirit, I just ask the most mundane questions possible, and I get the most mundane answers, and I get and the answers always end up being miraculous. These amazing things happen because I followed my inner guidance.
I love that. I love that. What about the issue that might be on people's mind about selfishness? What if somebody is thinking, well, if I ask for money or I ask for a car, it might even feel divinely led for that particular person, but they're going, no, it goes back to that fair share that you said earlier. Some people just say, I don't want more than my fair share, which is an unconscious limitation being expressed there. But what about when they say, I don't want another suit, or I don't want another car, I don't know, the whole issue of selfishness. It feels selfish to want. It feels selfish to ask. Why would I ask God or the divine for anything? How do we get past the selfishness?
Yeah, the meek shall inherit the earth. All of these things, we're brainwashed to believe these things that are not true. We got to get over these ideas.
But how do we get over it? It's pretty anchored. It's in the culture that's been in our grandparents and our parents. It's been downloaded throughout history. So it's kind of lodged in unconsciousness. Right. How do we unlodge that?
Well, first, number one is to recognize that we have the belief. That's number one. And number two is to work on changing it. And affirmation, I believe that affirmation is the most powerful way to change our beliefs. To say affirmations, not just once, not just read it, silently, to say it as I have been demonstrating today during this little show. I've been demonstrating how to speak affirmations with conviction, with strength, with power, and to do them repetitively. I mean, that affirmation, the first affirmation that I spoke, the I am in control affirmation, I say that affirmation every day, and I've been saying it for, I don't know, 30 years at least.
Wow.
And that has changed my life because it's an affirmation of complete self-authority, of inner power, inner strength, self-empowerment. So, sometimes we have to just continue to say those affirmations over and over. There's several people who have come to me and complained that they have like negative energies in their environment, in their home, for example.
Yeah.
And I tell them to say the affirmations that I teach for clearing the home and clearing energies and entities that are around us. I tell them to say those 100 times a day and then come back to me, And those who actually follow through with it, those who actually do it, they say, wow, you've changed my life,
Wow. How often should people say affirmations? You said 100 a day in that particular case, but should people be saying affirmations in the morning and the evening? Should they write them out? Should they be saying them, you've already said it kind of a dramatic way, say it with authority, but Is there any rule of thumb here?
Well, I don't want to say that they have to do it a certain way because different people, everyone is individual. So some people might get more bang for their buck if they write them. But I think in general, most people, it works better to say them audibly and in a strong and powerful, confident voice, and to say them over and over until you feel lifted. When you feel that lifting, when you feel the shift in your awareness, the affirmation has done its job. You may need to go back and do it again the next day, but for that day, you feel that shift, you feel the lifting, and then yes, it's done its work.
That's beautiful. Do you mind if I go off script, so to speak, and ask you a few questions that may never have been asked before?
Please do that.
First of all, for everybody watching, Susan and I, while we know each other, we haven't seen each other in forever. We did not exchange notes. She doesn't know what I'm going to ask. This is very much improvised, very much in the moment, very much divinely inspired. So I'm curious, with all the books that you've written, what is a technique that you've kept to yourself?
A technique that I've kept to myself that I haven't written?
Yeah. Your secret one, your pet technique. Could be your affirmation, could be a meditation, could be a visualization. It could be some sort of esoteric thing you learned from the Beatles and the Maharishi and some week in the Himalayas. I don't know. I'm probing here and just seeing how far I can go. to ask you, you're so experienced in spirituality and you've written so many books, your knowledge base goes beyond what you've written. And so I can't help but wonder, what is she holding back? and would she be willing to share it publicly? And if not, that's cool. We'll talk sometime. I'll buy you a drink. You tell me.
Well, what pops into my mind is not really very secret. And it is the fact that I'm not really good at visualizing. You mentioned that earlier, by the way, but some people are not good at visualizing. I mean, I'm great at receiving visions. When I'm in meditation, I get all kinds of amazing visions, and incredible experiences, expansion and light and beautiful, I'll see deities and everything.
Wow.
Fantastic. Yeah. But I really have been very bad at visualizing. If I want to create something, I'm good at saying the affirmations and all that, but just not very good at visualizing. So what I have found is that really creating like a vision scrapbook or vision board where I cut out something and stick it, and then it's next to my bed and I'm looking at it, every night before I go to bed, I'm looking at it and I'm saying affirmations. I recommend that people write affirmations on their vision boards and so on, but I don't write it out. I just say the affirmations and I look at the pictures that I have there next to my bed. And I find that a great way to visualize for someone who doesn't know how to visualize.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
And just closing your eyes and visualizing. Somehow I can't do that. I'm not good at it. Which is
cool.
weird because I'm an artist.
Obviously, what you are doing is working for you, so I think you're good.
Yeah.
And also, when you mentioned doing the vision board or scrapbook kind of thing, do you make more than one? Or when you make the one, do you take a photo of it so that you can print it out and put it in different places? Or is everything just home based around one vision board, and that's kind of the altar that you would be looking at?
Right. Well, I have it by my bed. So I've got various pages. It's like a vision scrapbook kind of thing, various pages about different things I want to manifest in my life. And, it works. I've found that it works. I started doing vision scrapbooks way back in the 1980s.
Nice. Did you get to know the Beatles?
I never met the Beatles.
Okay.
They were in India, in Rishikesh in 1968, and I was in Rishikesh in 1970.
Got it.
Now, I learned transcendental meditation before the Beatles did. I learned in August 1967, and the Beatles learned later that same month. So they hadn't even met Maharishi when I learned TM.
Wow. Do you still practice TM itself today?
Very rarely, because I like the method that I teach, which is called Divine Revelation, which I teach in my book, one book called Divine Revelation, and also this book, Awaken Your Divine Intuition. I like that method better for me. It works. I love TM, by the way. I think TM is fantastic. It's a great meditation technique. It's easy for anyone to practice. I just like the engagement of divine revelation. I like to call upon divine beings and ask, ask, and ask, and ask.
Yeah.
Ask, and it is given unto you. So I like to have that dialogue with spirit.
That's beautiful. I love that. What are you most excited about now? I know you have your new book, and I know you're excited about it. So am I. But is there something else? Is there a project, another book, a vision, some goal, anything that you are okay to share with?
Absolutely. I have a new book coming out, and by the way, you can pre-order it right now on Amazon. It's called The Inner Light: How India Influenced the Beatles. And I'm very excited about this book. I just got the proof back today. The designer just laid it out, and oh my gosh, it's over 500 pages. I can't believe it's so long. It's got tons of QR codes and tons of pictures, and it's just an amazing book. The Inner Light: How India Influenced the Beatles.
Congratulations. I'm writing it down. I'm going to go and pre-order it right after we're done here. How are you so prolific? I mean, I got my own answers to how I write so many books. How are you prolific? Is writing easy for you?
Writing is extremely easy for me. It always has been. I love writing. I just sit down and do it. What can I say? People say they have writer's block. I don't even know what that means. Writer's block. I think I have writer's diarrhea.
It just keeps coming, huh?
Coming and coming and coming. I've always said that I plagiarize God. I'm a plagiarizer of God. I just let spirit right through me.
Oh, believe me, there have been a couple of my books where I felt like I was the stenographer. I was just taking down dictation. It was coming. Zero Limits, one of my most popular books. I wrote it in 2 weeks. And I really felt like I just sat down and it was just there. Right. I have free will. I could have said no. And I said, I'm going to go watch a movie or something. Instead, I said, no, it's coming through. It's also one of only 2 or 3 of my books that I ever reread because it feels like I didn't write it.
Wow.
Even though it was my hand.
That's fantastic.
Coming through me. So
writing
Susan,
through. I call it writing through.
Writing through, yes. So Susan, I'm going to get even more daring now.
Okay, go ahead.
I love that you're just, yes, you're just saying, go ahead. What is a question that you were afraid I was going to ask?
I've never been afraid of any question in my life. So
That's beautiful. That's a great answer right there. What is the question that you were hoping I or somebody would ask you about your books, about your life, your career, what's next? What is the question you were hoping I would ask?
Okay. I wasn't, but this is what's popping up in my mind.
Go with it. Yes.
Yeah. How do you open to spirit? How do you start that conversation with God? How can spirit speak to you? Okay, so here's the answer.
Yeah, please tell us.
Okay, so first of all, it's really important to allow it to happen. And in order to be in that state of allowing, I recommend taking deep breaths like this, like and taking several of those deep breaths. What that does is settles you down. It just settles you into a state where you're more receptive and you're feeling more relaxed. So when you're in that deeply relaxed state, then what I recommend is that you call upon the divine being that you wish to contact by name. You could say, higher self, please come now, if you don't have a name of a deity, or you could ask for a specific deity like Jesus, please come now, or Lord Krishna, or Lord Buddha, whoever you want to call upon. Actually speak audibly and ask them to come and talk to you. And then take some more deep breaths, get even more relaxed. And then ask that divine being to take you deeper into the meditative state. You notice there's a theme here of asking. Yeah. So ask to be taken into the deep state. And then ask a question, ask something specific. Ask a question. Don't ask a predictive question. Predictions are not allowed in this particular system. Ask a question that you need help with, a problem that you've got, or maybe you need some creative ideas about something. So ask, maybe you could say, for example, what is wise for me to do about the problem I have at work with my boss? How can I solve that problem? Okay, that would be an example of a question you want an answer to. Very pragmatic. Yeah. Very mundane. And then take another big deep breath and then do what I call the do nothing program. That means do nothing, nothing and less than nothing. And then that still small voice will speak to you. It will give you the answer. And as I said earlier, the answer will come either as seeing a vision with your inner eye with eyes closed, or hearing some words being fed into your mind, or just getting a feeling, like a gut feeling. And that will be the answer to your question. And continuing to do that, practice daily, doing that. Intuition is a learnable, teachable skill. It's just like learning to play the piano. It takes time to learn. It takes a lot of practice, daily practice. So if you want to become a maestro at playing the piano, you've got to practice. At first, when you first start to play the piano, it doesn't sound very good and you're not very good at it and nobody wants to hear you. But after you get really good at it, then everyone wants to hear you play and then you're a maestro. Same thing with intuition. It takes time and patience to develop it, and practice. And here's the key, most important thing. Don't be afraid to make a mistake. I do have this 10-test system, but it's okay to make a mistake. Don't be afraid to make a mistake. When you're starting to play the piano, a lot of mistakes. After some time, less mistakes, you get better at it. Same with intuition. So if you're going to, I dedicated my life at some point in the 1980s, I made a conscious choice and decision to be led by spirit on a daily basis. Okay, that's the question I wanted you to ask, Susan. What decision did you make in the 1880s that was the most important decision of your life? And the answer is my decision to be led by spirit on a daily basis and do my darndest to do that, even though it's so challenging and so difficult, even though it's nearly impossible for anyone to do that. I did decide that I was going to ask Spirit for guidance daily and follow that guidance as best I can. If you want to live a life like that, it takes practice, and get over your fear that you might make a mistake.
Susan, that was brilliant. That was beautiful. Thank you so much. We've run out of time here. I absolutely am beyond grateful for your appearance here, your wisdom, your generosity, your friendship, your support of me. Where do you want to send people? I of course, to the bookstore. Go buy all of your books and the new one, Prosperity Meditations. I know you have a website, drsusan.org and divinetravels.com are two of them. Is there anything else or anywhere else?
Yeah, that would be it. drsusan.org. And also divinetravels.com, DIVINETRAVELS, that's plural on the travels, divinetravels.com. And I'd love for you all to come to one of my amazing travel things, including my holistic seminars at sea, conferences on cruise ships that I produce. And they will be starting up again in 2023. I have 4 of them scheduled there. You can see that at divinetravels.com.
Good. All right, we got to run. Susan, thank you. I have been talking to Dr. Susan Shumsky, Prosperity Meditations. Go get all of her books. She's written a half a dozen and more are coming, including The Inner Light, all on Amazon. I'm Dr. Joe Vitale. This is Zero Limits Living. Every week I bring you inspiration and information to transform your life, just like we did today. This show is seen on the Lux TV app. You can download it, watch it anywhere, anytime. It's on Roku, Apple TV, Amazon Fire. I put up a website, ZeroLimitsLivingTV.com, ZeroLimitsLivingTV.com. And I want to thank Candace Barr, Chris, who's running the cameras today, Lux Media Studios, and all of you for joining us. I love you all and expect miracles. Thanks.
Glutathione is a big word. It's the body's own master antioxidant. It's a scavenger for free radical, bacteria, and viruses. There are no products in the market with the ingredient Nasset. Nasset increases the production of glutathione that's in our body already to strengthen and enhance our immune system, elevate sense of well-being, support muscle strength and endurance, cognitive function, and liver support. It helps with increased energy and blood sugar regulation. Get your bottle of GSH Plus from www.salvationnutra.com.